Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. Today I'm going to be giving a thrifted bag a makeover and making a cute keychain. For my project today, I'm going to be working on this blue bag that I thrifted for just $4. It was in great shape, but I really wanted to give it a spring makeover. To do this, I'm going to be using Redesign with Prima's Poetry in Petals H2O Transfers. This is from their new spring release and I just love the colours in this one. As you can see on the back, it gives you a bit of a better idea of how they're going to look. I am going to be cutting out this beautiful yellow flower bunch, also this bunch of flowers here that have the white flowers on it. I'm also going to cut some typography. I always like to include typography if I can, and also these single yellow and white flowers as well. I'm going to have to adjust them so that they fit on my project a bit better, so I've just cut the bottom of those off. I'm going to make sure my surface is clean, and then I'm going to mist it with my water mister, dab back the water puddles. We want it wet but not with lots of those water puddles. I'm going to pull the backing off, and then I've pressed the design down into the water and I'm misting it. I'm applying some pressure and more moisture with my wet wipe there, pressing down firmly but making sure it's not slipping around. And then I'm going to repeat the same process for each of these, peeling that backing off, pressing that H2O transfer into the wet surface, and then using a water mister and a wet wipe to apply more moisture. I've let that sit for a couple of minutes and I'm going to carefully pull back my H2O transfer to reveal the design below. If any of it doesn't transfer, I can just put it back in place without lifting it up, apply a bit more water, give it some more time, and it will come off. And as you can see, these have stuck really well. I'm then going to add some more of that water to the bottom and then add these beautiful florals below. I wanted to work in sections because we do have them in close proximity to each other and I didn't want to risk them getting stuck to each other. H2O transfers are so easy to use and can be applied to so many different surfaces, as you can see, and I just love how they look on this bag. This was such an easy but satisfying project. So I am going to start removing the other florals, carefully pulling those back. I did end up just gently scratching off any of the overlapping ones that were outside this section of the bag. When that was dry, I sealed my section there with the H2O transfers using a satin finish clear coat. Next, I wanted to make a bag charm or a key ring to go with this bag. So I'm going to be using the Bunny Trail Tails mold with some quick set resin. So I've poured out step 1 and step 2 in equal parts into a silicone cup. And now I'm stirring it really well for about 40 seconds. I am wearing gloves and using this in a well ventilated area. And then I'm going to start pouring my resin out. I'm going to be adding it to this sweet little bunny first, and then I'm going to add it to the carrot. I am then going to take out the Ornate Minis mold and I'm going to add it to this oval frame. After about 10 minutes, my castings are ready, so I'm going to take them out and just pull off any of the excess resin. I'm just going to be using the carrot with my project today. And saving this other piece for another craft. I've taken out my oval frame and I'm going to be combining these and this little keychain that I got from a craft store. I'm also going to be adding this little jewelry bail piece here. You can get those from Amazon and eBay. I'm going to be attaching it with UV resin. So I've poured a little bit up the top there. I'm pressing the little jewelry bail hanger and then I'm using my UV pen light there to cure that resin. I just find that this tends to be a stronger hold. Next, I'm adding some antiquing glaze to my sweet little bunny casting there first. This is going to help define all of the beautiful details in this casting. I am then going to be using a wet wipe to pull some of it back. just gently. I do want a vintage finish for this project, and then I'm going to be using a blue mineral paint over the top of the rabbit's little jacket there. This one has a built-in sealer, and then I am going to go back in with another coat of that same antiquing glaze, darkening up the bunny's fur and also going over the top of the jacket. As I said, I want this to have a vintage feel, like maybe the bunny's been out in the garden and gotten the coat dirty. When that was dry, I used a pink mineral paint to go on the inside of the ears and the bottom of the feet. I also added a little dab to his nose. When that was dry, I dabbed the other end of my paintbrush in some white chalk paint, and then I carefully dabbed that over the top of the eye section to get the white of our bunny's eyes. When that was dry, I used the end of a different paintbrush in the black and carefully dabbed that for the pupil of the bunny's eye. And when that was dry, I layered in one more little dot of white over the top of the black. On the carrot, I'm using an orange mineral paint. Just going over the top of that with one coat, that was all it needed, and then I'm using a moss green color for the stem of the carrot. When that was dry, I then took the two pieces and added them together. I want them to sit over the top of the frame, but first I am going to use that UV resin to attach the carrot to our bunny so that it looks like he is running off with that carrot. Now you can definitely use super glue or hot glue if you don't have UV resin. Next, I'm going to be using Redesign's Chasing Petals Fiber Decoupage Paper. I have some scraps left over and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to use it on the back of my project. So I'm using Redesign's Decoupage Gel in Matte on the back of my frame and applying a generous coat, and then I'm going to position my scrap of fiber paper there in the center, and I'm going to press that down. And once I'm happy with where that's positioned, I'm going to add another layer of that decoupage gel over the top. When that was dry, I used my craft knife to carefully cut the decoupage fiber paper away, and I was also able to make little tears as well, and you will see me later use some sandpaper to tidy up those edges. Before that though, I'm going to apply some more decoupage gel to the center of the frame and use some more of the Chasing Petals fiber paper in the center. I thought this would make a really beautiful backdrop, so I'm applying another coat over the top now that the paper is in place. And when that was dry, I used my craft knife to cut away the excess paper from the center. I'm going to tidy up the edges on the back with a little bit of sandpaper, just making sure that that's all nice and tidy. And then I'm going to use that UV resin on the back of the rabbit to attach it to the frame. Now there is a gap between the rabbit and the frame, so I am able to get my UV light between that gap to dry off that resin. I then went in with some bronze metallic paint, and I'm going straight over the top and really highlighting those beautiful ornate curves and details all around the edges. I'm also going to go around the edge of the back as well, running my brush over that to create a bronze frame. When that was dry, I decided I actually wanted to add resin over the entire project. The resin is very strong once it's been cured, so I thought that this would be perfect. Obviously, bag charms and key rings are going to get a lot of wear and tear, so I've added my UV resin, and now I'm using a combination of my UV resin lamp and my little pen to get in all of those areas. And I'm also going to add it to the back. This is obviously an optional step. You could just finish off with another strong clear coat front and back if you don't have UV resin. Finally, I'm adding my little frame to my key ring or bag charm attachment, closing that link, and then I'm going to attach it to the bag. And here's a look at our finished projects. I hope that today's video has shown you how easy it is to use things like Redesign with Prima's H2O Transfers to transform handbags and the molds to create some super cute key rings. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, we would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We will definitely do our best to answer those. You can find a full product list in the description below as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.